Hey, sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live on this Sunday morning, ready to do another edition of Talking Sports Sunday. We got some portal news that we want to talk about. We also got the NFL playoffs and how that whole picture is going to unfold. We got two pieces yesterday. Well, not really two pieces yesterday. One piece yesterday and a possible piece after the action today between the Saints and the Falcons, and also the college football playoffs Final Four. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We won't do our preview, but we'll give you a little bit of insight on what we think is going to happen in those two games. And we got more. Of course, LSU and that whole situation with Lane Kiffin going there, and the fact that his coaches have been at Ole Miss and Ole Miss is in the Final Four. Supposedly they're going to leave Ole Miss in this Final Four and go do their business at LSU. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well, along with some other things that's going on in the football world. So we're going to jump right on into these questions. I'm not sure if I'm going to be going solo today or if anyone else is going to jump in with me or not. But either way, we're going to have a really, really fantastic show. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share our videos, and just join on in if you're out there in the chat. You got any questions you want to drop, go ahead and drop those. If you want your question to go right to the front of the line, drop us a super chat. All right, let's go ahead and get right on into this. The Bucks beat the Panthers 16-14. Now the Bucks wait to see the outcome of the Saints versus the Falcons. Who would you rather see make the playoffs between the Bucks and the Panthers? Wow, that's a really good question. Um, the Bucks have probably been the best team in that division all year when they are healthy. They have not been healthy for much of the year. They've had wide receivers that have been out. They've had Bucky Irvin, their star running back has been out for a period of time. So they just really have, and they have some defensive guys that have been hurt as well. They just haven't been 100%. And they've probably been the toughest team to beat when they're 100% in this division. Of course, we got the Falcons and Bijan Robinson and how good they are. Carolina Panthers surprised a lot of us, except for my man Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10, who picked them to win this division. But I think out of those three teams, the Bucks are probably the better suited to go into the playoffs if they're healthy to possibly win a game or two. I would go with the Bucks from that standpoint, but I would rather see the Panthers make it because the Panthers haven't been there in a while, especially since the departure of Cam Newton several years ago. I would definitely like to see the Panthers get in and get an opportunity to play in the playoffs. Will they get there? I don't know. You know what? You know what? I think they're going to get there because I think that the Falcons are going to beat the Saints. The Falcons are at home. They got the Saints, who was the bottom dweller in the division. I think that the Panthers are going to get in, but I think that the Bucks will be a better suited team for the playoffs because at the stage they are now, healthy. Baker Mayfield got his weapons around him, and I think they will be a better team in the playoffs. But of course, the Panthers are probably going to make it because there's a higher chance of the Falcons beating the Saints than the Saints beating the Falcons. And hopefully, Bijan Robinson can get that 255 yards from scrimmage to break the single season record. So I'm definitely rooting for the Falcons today and Bijan Robinson. Another question we have related to the playoffs. The Seahawks defeated the 49ers 13-3 yesterday. The Seahawks win that division and wrap up the number one seed in the playoffs in the NFC. Does that make them the favorite to make it to the Super Bowl? Well, I mean, if you really want to ask me that question, and you are, how much faith do I have in Sam Darnold? Is the question. Can Sam Darnold lead this team past the likes of possibly the Rams, the Eagles, the Bears? I just don't think so. I just don't think so. I think that at this time of the year, you got a Sam Darnold quarterback who has not really been in this position before. Now, of course, he's going to have the benefit of being at home every single playoff game as long as they win. So he's going to have that advantage to his liking. Do I think they're going to make it all the way to the Super Bowl? They have a really good chance to. That's for sure. Because I believe they can beat the Eagles, the Rams, the Bears. But if I was a betting man and I had to put money on any of those teams, I'm probably going to put them on Sean McVay and that Rams team because they have a really good veteran quarterback who's been there before, who understands what needs to happen. Now they're going to need Devontae Adams though. They're going to need him to be healthy and to be able to get him some productive minutes. But they got a really good run game. They got a solid defense. If I had to pick a team, I'm gonna pick the Rams. But I think that the Seahawks could definitely make it to the Super Bowl. I'm not doubting them. I just think that the Rams is probably a better team. And maybe the 49ers might be able to figure some things out. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries at their wide receiver position as well. And they took it on the chin yesterday to the Seahawks, and the 49ers defense isn't that solid. And I'm definitely not going to count out the Philadelphia Eagles, so you know they got a plethora of talent over there on that side. They got a really good defense. They got Saquon Barkley. They get I think Devontae Smith is going to be back as well. So they got a really solid team too. So it could go either way. But I'm going with the Rams to make it to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. The Broncos had the best chance to get the number one seed in the AFC over the Patriots. Will they win today over the Chargers at home? The Broncos are at home against the Chargers, who have already secured their spot in the playoffs. Will the Chargers roll out all of their key players in this game? Will they play the whole game if they do roll them out? I don't think so. I think the Chargers have already solidified their position in the playoffs, and they're probably not going to risk anybody else getting injured. I think that they're okay with not winning this game right here against the Broncos. They're on the road. I think the Broncos is going to get this number one seed over the Patriots today, and it's going to have the playoff picture pretty much settled as we wait on the winner of the Steelers and the Ravens. But I think that the Broncos will probably get this number one seed, since that is the question over over the Patriots. Even though the Patriots have had a really really successful season, um, they weren't very good last year, but they turned that thing around. Uh, and they're looking really, really good. And Drake May is really one of the front runners to win the MVP of the NFL, the offensive MVP of the NFL, maybe the whole entire MVP of the league, because he's playing really good ball. I think it's between him and Matthew Stafford for the Rams. And you might be able to sprinkle in a little bit of Bijan Robinson, especially if he gets that record today and he gets those 255 yards. He could definitely be in the picture for the offensive MVP and the MVP of the league in the NFL this year. But if I had to go with anybody right now, it might be Drake May because of the game that Matthew Stafford had last week against the Atlanta Falcons when he threw those three picks. But I think that the the Broncos will get the number one seed in the NFC, AFC. I mean, excuse me. Today we got those Steelers and we got the Ravens. We all know that Lamar Jackson is going to try to give it a go. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to physically be able to go out there and play against these Steelers. I'm quite sure that the Steelers are going to have a game plan defensively to slow down Derrick Henry. The only chance that I think that the Ravens have to win this game over the Steelers, even though it's going to be a dogfight, it's going to be a really close game, it's going to be a really competitive game, is if Derrick Henry can run wild on the Steelers. And the Steelers isn't one of those teams that's just going to let you run wild on them. I don't know if Watt is going to be a go today or not for the Steelers, but I think they have some guys that they can put out there to try to slow down Derrick Henry because that's going to be the key for them. And we talked a little bit about Derrick Henry yesterday and the mileage that he has on his body as it relates to once his career is over. How do you think he's going to be able to manage his health after his career is done? And I think that's very important for that young man to try to figure out what he's going to do with his body after his NFL career is over. Because we really don't want that man who has taken a lot of punishment and has dished out a lot of punishment. How is his body going to hold up once he's done playing ball? Once he no longer has to work out at the level that he works out right now to be competitive in the NFL. I want to watch his career, his life after football to make sure to see if he's still going to be able to hold up health wise with his body not breaking down on him after playing such a grueling NFL career. And I'm sure he's probably going to play a couple of more years, one or two possibly. But I hope he doesn't go beyond that. I think he's had one of those careers that has been really, 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 really brilliant, really, really incredible career. Probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I want him to hang it up soon because he's been taking a lot of beating out there on that football field. So hopefully the Steelers can pull out this victory today for my homies who are Steeler fans. But I also would like to see Lamar Jackson get out there and do it again as well. But we'll have to wait and see. Either way, I'll be okay with it. But I'm rooting for the Steelers to win because of my friends and my homies who are Steeler fans. Let's talk a little bit more about the NFL and the way things are going to go in terms of the NFL draft and the teams who are vying for a position. They're really the number one pick. Um, you got teams that are right there clustered together 1 through 5 who are trying to seal that number one pick, which I think is probably going to be maybe the Jets or the Saints, someone like that that's going to get that number one seed. I don't think any of them outside of the Jets maybe want to get a quarterback. I think the Saints may have found their quarterback in Tyler Shuck. Of course, the Titans they got their quarterback with Cam Ward. So I'm not sure. Well, the Browns got Shador Sanders. I think the Browns should go ahead and put the pieces around Shador Sanders that he needs. I don't think they need to draft a quarterback this year. And I'm not sure that the quarterbacks that are coming out in the draft out of college are worth a top 5, top 10 pick, in my opinion. I just don't know if there's a guy out there that's worth that. So I would if I was the Browns, I would just stick with Shador Sanders and put the pieces around him that he needs around him. Yeah, that's what I would do. One take Zay. He said Atlanta might need to take another one. I feel you what I want to say because I really would like to see your Bucks get in there because I think the Bucks will be a better playoff team than the Carolina Panthers. I would rather see the Bucks because of the weapons that they have around Baker Mayfield to be able to make a run in the playoffs over the Carolina Panthers. I just think that they're a better team than Carolina, especially when they're healthy. They're one of the best teams in the league when they're completely healthy, and I would like to see them get in the playoffs. I just can't see Atlanta falling to the Saints, man. Especially when you got this Bijan Robinson single season scrimmage yards from scrimmage record on the line. I just can't see the Saints being able to keep up with the Falcons today. But I feel you on. They need to take one, bro. They definitely need to take another one for sure. Oh, you said they need to take another quarterback. Oh yeah, I agree with you. I think the Atlanta Falcons is in the business of taking another quarterback. You can't live with Kirk Cousins, who you benched, and then went with Penix, and I don't think that you can rely on Penix, man. Penix was injury prone in college when he was at Indiana. He went on to Washington and did some great things at Washington. But since he's been in the NFL, his 2 seasons that he's been there, he's been hurt both seasons. They really do need to take another quarterback. And I think they're going to be in a position where they pick in this NFL draft to where they'll be in a really good position to get a quarterback at the spot they're going to be picking from. So I agree with you, one take Zay. They definitely need to get another quarterback. From the Falcons, I would definitely do that. And you actually got, I think, Kirk Cousins may be in the third year of that 4 year deal that they gave him. So you might be able to ship him off to a team that's probably looking for a veteran quarterback. Somebody like the Miami Dolphins might want to bring in a veteran quarterback because I'm quite sure they're going to part ways with Tua. That would be a good landing spot for Kirk Cousins to sort of help Quinn Ewers along until they decide whether or not they want to go and get another quarterback as well. If I was Miami, I would go ahead and stick with Quinn Ewers next year with a veteran quarterback behind him and then see what it's looking like at that point. Because I think their young head coach will probably be on the chopping block if they don't do well next season. But we'll have to wait and see that thing out. But I would like to see Atlanta get another quarterback as well, for sure. I would definitely like to see them do that. As far as any other games going on in the playoff or with playoff implications, I think they're all pretty much set. We're just waiting to see what the Steelers do today. We're waiting to see what the Broncos do to get the number 1 seed, and we're waiting to see if the Falcons can beat the Saints to determine who gets in between the Bucks and the Carolina Panthers. Let's talk a little bit about the college football playoffs, the 4 teams that are there. We know we got number 10 ranked Miami playing against number 6 ranked Ole Miss. Ole Miss right now, we're not sure what it's looking like because apparently their coaches are supposed to be leaving from Ole Miss to go ahead and take on their jobs at LSU with Lane Kiffin. I don't know how I feel about that. I think that's one of those situations that is really, really hard to even fathom, man, because here you have a team in Ole Miss who is in the college football playoffs, on the brink of making it to the national championship game. And it's almost like Lane Kiffin or whoever felt like, oh, they're not going to make it that far, so I'll have my coaches over here soon enough. But that's not the case. They beat who they needed to beat in the first round. They beat Georgia last week. Now they're in the Final Four, and now you're going to pull those coaches from whose name is Pete Golden, I think might be his name. You're going to pull down from him, and he's right there, ready to win a national championship or possibly a national championship for Ole Miss, a team that you could have been leading, Lane Kiffin. You could have been leading them to this national championship had you not taken the LSU job. Or had you told LSU, listen, I'm coming, but I got to finish this over here. I don't know how that would have ever worked, but still, the reality is you allowed those coaches to be there to this point. Why can't they stay? I know you got things that you got to get done at LSU, but I think you have time that you can allow those coaches to be there for a couple of more weeks to get this thing done. And maybe they might not win this game against Miami, and then you can get them after that. I think it will be a bad move. It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't look good if those coaches were to leave Ole Miss and go start their jobs at LSU. I think that would be pretty cruel on LSU's part or whoever is making that decision. I don't know who's making that decision, whether it's Lane Kiffin, whether it's LSU, whether it's those coaches saying, listen, we didn't think we was going to be here at this point. We thought we were going to be able to move on and go take on our LSU jobs. I don't know. All I know is I don't want to see that happen. I want to see those coaches be able to finish what they started with Ole Miss. You let them stay there in good grace to this point. Let them finish the job. And who knows? They might not even win this next game against Miami, who is going to be a really, really formidable opponent. But if you take them away, those coaches away, then there's a really good chance that they won't win. So hopefully they'll get to stay and finish out what they started. Also in college football Final Four, we got the number one ranked Indiana Hoosiers against the number 5 seed Oregon Ducks, who played earlier in the season in Oregon, in Eugene, Oregon. A really, really good contest that Indiana ended up winning. And we all know that anytime you are playing a sport like football, it's very difficult to beat a team twice. It happens, though. It happens. You can beat a team twice, but when that team has another chance to look at the film and see what they did wrong and be able to look at the film and see what they can do better, 9 times out of 10, that team that lost usually finds a way to win in that second game. And I think Dan Lanning and that Oregon team will be well prepared. They played really good defense in this last outing against Texas Tech, which was probably everybody who has been watching Oregon. It's probably their biggest concern for that team is their defense. But they played lights out against Texas Tech. And we know that they got talent on that side of the ball, especially that true freshman defensive back who got 2 interceptions in that game last week against Texas Tech. So if they can play good, solid defense against an Indiana team who we know is going to be fundamentally sound, they're going to be disciplined, they're going to run the football, they're going to create situations for Mendoza to be able to make the throws that he needs to make. He's also going to be able to use his legs to extend drives. They're just a really disciplined and fundamentally sound team. They're going to be where they need to be. They're going to do what they need to do. You just have to find a way to stay with them and hopefully get them into the fourth quarter with an opportunity to either make a stop to win a game or to drive the ball down offensively to get a win. But you can't allow a team like Indiana to get up on you by 2 scores. They get up on you by 2 scores, whether it be 10 points, 13 points, 14 points, whatever. If you got to get 2 scores against them, it's probably not going to happen because they run the ball really, really effectively, and they're going to be a tough team to beat, regardless if they get up on you 2 scores or not. So I think that's going to be a really good matchup. I think both of those games are going to be really, really good matchups. But I think Oregon playing them a second time with Dan Lanning being able to coach the way he coaches, they might have a really good chance of beating Indiana. Um, and we've all said on this show many times that we don't believe that there will ever be another undefeated national champion. But we have an opportunity to get one with this Indiana team. They could possibly end up being 16-0 as national champs. That would be incredible. The Indiana Hoosiers, y'all. We're not talking basketball here. We're talking football. Kurt Signati and those Indiana Hoosier boys, man, they are balling out. And they're, in my opinion, the best team in the country. Will they finish as the best team in the country? We got 2 games to wait and see. But I think from what we've seen so far, there's probably not a team out there that's playing better football than them. Now they're going to come up against 2 juggernauts, whether or not. I mean, if they win, they got one against Oregon, and then they go face another one either with Ole Miss or with Miami. But I do believe Indiana is the best team in the country and have a really good chance of going 16-0 as an undefeated national champion, something that I definitely didn't think we would ever see again since Michigan did it 2 years ago. So we'll talk more about that college football playoff and those 4 teams when we do our preview later on next week. Well, this week, since this is Sunday, probably on Tuesday or Thursday, we'll start talking about the college football playoffs and how that thing is going to look. Let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal and the fact that, and I don't even understand how this works, but anyway, you have players who have entered the transfer portal with a no contact clause, which means apparently that these players know where they're going to go. And teams are not allowed to contact them or contact their agent because they already know where they're going to go. But they're taking multiple visits. Like, how does that make any sense? I can contact you, but you're taking visits to all these people. We might be interested in you. We want to be able to get a visit too. But you only going to pick and choose the visits you're going to take. I get it. I get that. Because when it comes down to it, you're only going to go on the visits that you want to go on to. But to be able to put a no contact clause up there when you're taking more than one visit, you're visiting somebody other than the team that you're saying you're going to, which is why you put the no contact clause on there. I just don't quite understand that. I don't understand that. If you know where you're gonna go, only go visit that school and go in. Don't even visit them. Go ahead and sign the papers. Go ahead and say, here I come. I'm coming here. Don't make any other visits. I just don't understand that aspect of it, where teams out there who may be looking for a player of your caliber at the position that you play, they want to have an opportunity to show you their campus, to show you what they have to offer. They want to be able to put some money on the table too. And I just don't think that that's a fair rule to have in place for those schools who aren't allowed, now that you got this no contact clause on there, to be able to reach out to you. I think anytime somebody put their name in a transfer portal, they should be allowed to be contacted by anybody who has interest. I just think that's the way it should be. But, the rule is the rule. Maybe one day they'll fix that. I'm also hearing that out of LSU, here go that Lane Kiffin guy again, which, excuse me, we all know Lane Kiffin is one of those coaches that he will always be in the news, man. He will always make this college football thing a little more exciting because he's always going to do or say something that is very, very entertaining. So what we're hearing out of LSU is they have players who are entering the portal, but they are not putting their paperwork. I ain't gonna say they're refusing to put their paperwork in the portal, but they are not. They haven't put their paperwork in the portal. Now we all know that if a player puts their name in the portal, puts their paperwork in, I think they have 48 hours in order to submit it. Um, I think at this point, any team that is not in the college football playoffs, you should already know because you should have already had exit interviews with your players to where you already know who is entertaining the thought of entering the transfer portal. If those are players that you want to keep, then you should already be in negotiations with their agent to try to keep them. If they are still at this point, January 2nd being Friday, we're only here at Sunday, which is only 48 hours later, a little bit more than 48 hours later, you should already have submitted those kids' paperwork because the reality is if they want to submit their name in the portal, that means they're ready to leave your university. You had an ample time to try to convince them to stay. And I don't think that's cool if this is true that LSU is not submitting these young men's paperwork. And even though you got 48 hours, that means you got 48 more hours to convince those players to stay or to come up with a package deal to get them to stay. But if at this point they want to go, then you got to submit their paperwork. If a student athlete wants to leave your school, then you shouldn't handcuff them and keep them from going. That's an opportunity for that young man or young woman or whoever it may be to go and try to find a home somewhere else that's better suited for them, better financially, and all those things. So I think if LSU is doing that, then I would like for them not to do that because that's not cool. That's not cool at all. Also, as it relates to my Texas Longhorns, they have quite a few players who have entered the transfer portal who played a lot of minutes, were starters for Texas. Like we got the linebacker Leona LaFau who decided he was going to hit the transfer portal, and he is going to probably be signing with BYU, which is going to be a really, really good move for him. I think that's a really good program to go to. They can meet his NIL needs. It's a really good football program to play for. So I'm excited about him going there. Also, Trey Wisner, who was our starting running back, who's been our best running back for the past 2 years. We just weren't able to come to an agreement with him NIL wise and looking for a number one running back, so we weren't able to keep him on the roster. But I wish Trey Wisner the best. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm sorry about that. So I think that Trey Wisner being the caliber running back that we have had for the past 2 seasons, deciding to go on the greener pasture. I really kind of wish that he would have went to the NFL. I really don't want to see Trey Wisner in somebody else's uniform. But you got to do what's best for you. I think he can make some really good money somewhere else, possibly be their number one running back, like he was for Texas the last 2 years. I think Texas just understood that. Listen, we need to get a guy who we need a number one running back, and Trey Wisner wasn't what we considered a number one running back, even though he's been really, really good the last 2 years. We just need a guy who can run in between the tackles and run some of the offensive schemes that we want to be able to run at Texas. And he just didn't have a body type to be able to do that. He was more of an outside zone guy. A really good pass catcher out the backfield too, though, and really good in pass pro. So whoever gets Trey Wisner, you're getting one hell of a football player. That's for sure. That's for sure. Also, Parker Livingston, he decided to hit the transfer portal as well. And from what I'm hearing, he may end up at Indiana. But I'm not 100% sure about that. I really didn't believe he would leave the state of Texas. I thought he would find another home with another team in the state of Texas. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But that's another. He was our most consistent wide receiver last year at Texas. And he really was the main guy that Arch Manning had a connection with early in the season. He really was carrying that wide receiver room for the first part of the football season, and he was our most consistent pass catcher. So we're going to be losing him. Also, DeAndre Moore, who has been a starter for 2 years at Texas. I thought he would go on to the NFL as well, but he's going to transfer out as well. Where he ends up is going to be, it's going to be, I don't know, man. I have no news on where he might end up at. But the fact that he entered the transfer portal is a sign that he didn't like his NFL grade that he got. He was probably a day 3 pick, probably fifth, sixth, seventh rounder. Really, really good pass block. I mean, blocker on screens and stuff like that. Decent route runner, decent speed. He had some issues with drops though, and he had a couple of drops this season and a couple of drops last season. That is the reason why I feel like Texas was going to move on to another wide receiver and move on from DeAndre Moore, and they weren't going to give him his NIL asking price, so he decided he would go ahead and move on to another school. But I really wish he would have went to NFL because it's another player I don't want to see in another college uniform. I see him as a Texas guy, and that's where I wanted him to end his career at. But he's going to move on as well. We're still waiting on decisions from Trevor Goolsby, who is the left tackle, who the NFL, they love Trevor Goolsby. I mean, they love Trevor Goolsby. And he may be a first round, early second round pick. I think that's the grade that he's gotten. One complete season starting this past season. He made several starts the year before at left tackle and at right tackle when Big Cam Williams was out and when Kelvin Banks was out. So he has a lot of playing experience in some big games. I mean, he played against Georgia twice last year, played against Georgia again this year. He's played a lot of big games. Clemson in the playoffs. I really wish he would have played against Ohio State in the playoffs and knew they didn't bring Cam Williams back because Cam Williams was getting killed against those Buckeyes in that playoff game. I think we would have fared much better with Trevor Goolsby in the game. But, that's the past. So we're waiting on a decision from him and also from the center, Connor Roberts, even though we got a center coming in the portal on a visit that might help us in that decision-making process when it comes to Connor Robertson. So we'll see how that goes. And we're losing, of course, our left guard and our right guard in Cole Hudson and in DJ Campbell. So we're waiting to see, what we can get in the portal from those two's departure. We got two guys from Michigan who are coming in from out of the transfer portal, who one was a starter but was hurt much of this season and didn't play against Texas in this last game. because he had already entered the portal. And the other gentleman played against Texas, and Texas really liked both of those two offensive linemen from Michigan, especially since they couldn't get, especially since Malachi Lee didn't jump in the portal, the really good high school tackle from Hawaii. So hopefully they'll be able to fill those roles. They got a lot of holes that they need to fill. They're probably going to get a receiver, and they got Cam Williams on campus right now for the next 48 hours. They probably got him for another couple of hours today because I think he came in on either early Saturday or late Friday. So they're trying to pencil him in at one of those wide receiver positions. Couple of linemen, center, those two guys I talked about from Michigan. They're working on getting a visit from, or they got a visit scheduled for the running back out of Louisville. So that's going to be a good move for them. And they got a couple of defensive backs that are coming in as well. So they got some holes that they need to fill because a lot of guys either moved on to the NFL or they decided to transfer out. So you're going to see a very young Texas team again on the defensive side of the ball, along with some veteran guys as well. They were able to secure Hero Canoe and Alex January at the defensive tackle position. Of course, they're going to lose Cole Bavard and Travis Shaw to the NFL. Those two don't have any more eligibility. And then Levon Johnson decided he's going to hit the transfer portal. So Texas has some guys that they need to fill those voids on the defensive tackle spot. They're looking really, really good at the defensive end spot. Of course, they got Colin Simmons coming back for his third season. Um, they got Zena on the other side. They also got Spence, who can play linebacker and who can spin down and rush the passer. So they got some guys that are played a lot of football on that defensive side of the ball that can help bring those young guys along. We all seen how well Ty Anthony Smith played against Michigan with the 2 interceptions that he got. So they're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. My man One Take Zay says that's why you shouldn't care about none of them running backs that's leaving. Having Isaac Brown and Derek Coleman is plenty. Y'all need to make a run at Cam Coleman. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Um, and hopefully we can secure Cam Coleman because we're going to need him. Him along with we're working out a deal with Ryan Wingo right now. We already have a deal done with Mosley, so that wide receiver core will be solid. And then you got those 5 stars that's behind them: Dylan McCutcheon, Khalid Lockett, Jamie French. So if those guys can make it into the circle of trust, those last 3 names that I named, and we seen Khalid Lockett in the game against Michigan catch that touchdown. But Dylan McCutcheon had a timely drop that could have led to a touchdown as well. But I agree with you, One Take Zay. If we can get those, if we can get Isaac Brown with the Coleman kid coming in too, if we can get those guys all solidified along with Cam Coleman, we could be in good shape. Because I really like Derek Cooper that's coming in as out of high school. He's going to be the piece that we really need in that. Oh, so you said Isaac Brown already locked in? Okay. Yeah, I haven't. I need to go do my research then because I know that he was on campus. I didn't know if he was locked in yet or not. But he's a go dad. He's a home run hitter. He's a guy who he catch a crease, he's going to the crib. And that was one of the biggest knocks on Trey Wiseman. He could get in the open field, but he wasn't going to outrun anybody. But this Isaac Brown kid, yeah, he's going to the crib. He's going to the crib. But that's pretty much all I got for today. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up and go ahead and get ready for my Sunday. I got a lot on my slate today. We'll be back Tuesday at 7:45, And if we decide to do anything else, because the portal was popping, we can jump on at any time and bring you any portal news that's out there. And so make sure you hit that notification bell so that anytime we go live, you get notified that they go live at this time, and you can tune in and chop it up with us. Get in the chat. We also will take your questions, whether it be a super chat or not. We're willing to entertain any question that anybody in the chat gives us. But I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Thank you all for joining me this morning, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Have a good one. Enjoy your Sunday. Back to work tomorrow for me. So one take, Zay. I'll see you in the morning, bro. Peace.